Okay. So, Bardo is quite a complex teachings, especially taught in the Tantric Buddhism. And and in Tibet, when we talk about 6 yogas, I'm sorry for those who are absolutely new. Some of these may be very, these jargons, these terms will be very confusing, but you'll have to bear. And I'll try my best to try to present this in common kind of language. But you know the word yoga. But yoga is actually quite a big path. Of course, now it has sort of, I don't want to say degenerated too, but it has sort of become mere physical exercise, something like that. But yoga, the technique to generate balance, basically, is a very, very big path. And there are many, many different yogas. One very popular grouping, if you like, is so-called 6 yogas, coming from great masters such as Telopa, Naropa, and many others. And when we talk about 6 yogas, Bardo, yoga of the Bardo, is an indispensable one. Bardo is a very big subject, especially in the Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism. If you are interested, you should explore the great Nyingma master called Karma Lingpa. His teachings on Bardo is very, very extensive. But there are many. To the certain extent, one could say all the Buddha's teachings are Bardo teachings. I know many people think of Bardo, when we talk about the Bardo, we are talking about, a lot of people think it's about what happens after this death. And I'm talking about the common understanding of the death, which is the separation of this present body and the mind. But actually, there's a very small part of the Bardo teaching. People have even talked about like Egyptian Book of Death, and then the Tibetan Book of the Death. I flipped through the Egyptian Book of Death. It does seem to really concentrate more on, what happens after this so-called death that we know of. But Tibetan Bardo teaching, Bardo Thödol, is much more than this. It encompasses, basically, in one way I could say all Buddha's teachings are teachings of Bardo. Okay, I think to really appreciate the Bardo teachings, one thing you need to kind of one very important thing is we need to kind of at least have some sort of a agreement is maybe not the right word, but common understanding of what do we mean by mind. This is must. If we don't talk about mind, then we cannot talk about Bardo. And this is a very big subject, as you know. Study of mind for Asians, especially in India, is a very big. Thousands of years they have done this. But today, when we talk about mind, I don't know whether you and I have a common understanding when we talk about mind. And I don't know whether we should be really spending time trying to sort of have this, because that's another subject for another day. But right now, what I mean when I say mind is something that a cognizance, not only a cognizance that has not only ability to cognize others, such as me cognizing the cups, but a cognizance that has the ability to cognize itself. Self-awareness, self-cognizance. This is important. And when I say cognizance that knows itself, I need to define this. We are talking about a past or another cognizance. And one cognizance looking at another cognizance. We are not talking about that at all. We are talking about the very cognizance that is doing both so-called subjective and objective function. At least this much I should tell you. This is what I mean when I say mind. Okay? This is, if you don't have that, then the whole Bardo thing, I don't think we can communicate. Then I was thinking about this when I prepared to talk about the Bardo. What is it that we should really prepare ourselves? Then probably the next important thing that you and I need to come to some sort of a common understanding is, what do we mean by relative? Very important. Very, very important. And I'm 99.99 sure that we will constantly have a misunderstanding. A relative. What do we mean by relative? This is absolutely important. In fact, one could say the study of Buddhist philosophy is a study of relative truth. It's so important. Because if we don't know this, many times your mind, no, actually this is what happens. Your heart is thinking about the ultimate truth, but your head is thinking about the relative truth, or vice versa. If this happens, understanding of the teachings such as Bardo is difficult. I just want to tell you this. I'm not going to solve this problem now, because we cannot. It's too big. But along the way, I will sort of point out, maybe we are going through some misunderstanding here. This happens all the time. All the time. I mean, one big thing is this. Buddhist understanding of dependent arising, agreed. Buddhist philosophy of shunyata, emptiness, agreed. But Buddhist teachings of reincarnation, what is that? This is what many people think. But this is where you are mixing the relative truth and ultimate truth. Because no Buddhist asserts, no Buddhists believe there is a reincarnation ultimately. Relatively, conventionally, Buddhists believe there is a reincarnation, just as how I believe there is 100 head on the 100 shoulder right now. This is just a relative. But of course, we could argue about this more, really. Heart thinking, oh no, this, I can feel it. I can feel this. Here is my head. How can this be relative? See, your heart is talking about ultimate truth. But your lips is talking about relative truth, or vice versa. This happens a lot. So keep this in mind, and then we talk about, of course we will come back here, and come back to this again and again, I believe. So, what is the Tibetan word Bardo? And it is an incredible, Tibetan, I should not say Tibetan, Indian, because that's where it came from, Anyway, words like Bardo is an incredibly crafted word. I can just imagine the great Mahasiddhas and the Panditas. Obviously, they must have done out of their meditative power, but let's say today, in today's case, they may have spent hours and hours how to just come up with these two words, Bar and Do. From one angle, it is one of the most incredible trick word. It's a trick. It is so and beautifully crafted and short. Bardo. It's not like, it doesn't have this big words like psychoanalysis. You don't even need that. Bardo. And what does it mean? Something so simple. It means simple yet complex. Bar usually means in the middle, not here, not there. Neither here, not here, but in the middle. Do could refer to junction, crossing, junction, where you make the decision, go right or left or straight or back. That kind of junction. Now, so what are we talking about? We are talking about a lot of things. Let's talk something very practical. So when we talk about the Bardo, what are we pointing at? We are pointing at this very moment. This is Bardo. This very moment. Okay, do you want more definition? This very moment, cognizance. This is the Bardo. And why? Because it happens to be in the middle of the past and the future. But did you know what I said earlier? It's a trick. Because there is no such thing as the past and the future. So it's a made-up term, Bardo. Why do we make up? Because there's a lot of idiots who need to be communicated. You need to create language. You need to create all these categories. You need to create all these like distinctions. Okay, first this, second this, and then this. That's why. Even as you think about the past, you are only doing it now. Even when you are thinking about the future, you are only doing it now. Okay, so what do we have? Just this moment? No. If you don't have this, and if you don't have this, how can you have this? The middle. This is why Bardo, the whole Bardo is a trick. It doesn't exist, actually. But when I say it doesn't exist, again, here, see, danger of relative truth and ultimate truth mixing. No, it exists. See, I hear the bird. I can feel it here right now. What is this? So this is one grand way of understanding the Bardo. In other words, you are always in the Bardo. You are always in the middle of the junction. But keep in mind, there's no right, no left, no front, no back. This imaginary middle, imaginary gap. Okay? Just some ideas. Just keep that there. Now, now let's try to present this more like a, how should I put it? Buddhist yogi, okay? You know, there are a lot of different kinds of Buddhists. You know, there are Buddhist scholars, there's Buddhist yogis, then there's a cultural Buddhists. You know, there are like fanatical Buddhists, there are like emotional Buddhists, there are like, there's so many. There's like bipolar Buddhists, there are, what do you call it? Bulimic Buddhists, so many. And they will, so let's talk about Buddhist yogi. What would they say? What is the definition of Bardo in their mind? In their mind, Bardo is this. They think that we have always been perfect. Never. True nature is always perfect. Remember buddhanature stuff? Always. But then we departed from that delusion. And then you practice, meditate, go to, I don't know, yogas, vipassanas, all this kind of thing, and then come back to Buddha nature. That's a Bardo. Did you know? Remember, Bardo means in between this and this. So from the yogi's point of view, the in between this and this is the Buddha nature, dream, delusion, confusion, fight, this, that, woken up. This is the Bardo. You understand? So it's a bit like you are sleeping in Deer Park, some room there, and then you dream, SP with a spider head, Ajir with a, sparrow head, Prashant with an elephant nose coming to your room, and you get freaked out. What is this? I thought we checked in a Buddhist institute. But then you wake up. You are peacefully sleeping on the Deer Park bed. Bardo? This is how yogis think. The yogis' way of understanding Bardo is like this. So most probably we will be talking more about the yogis' way of deciphering the Bardo. I am using two commentaries written. One is written by Tsele Rangdrol, which is one of the great Nyingmapa master, and the other is actually taught by Kyabje Dudjom Rinpoche, transcribed based on his transcription of one of his teaching. So we will use that, and let's begin. Is there a toilet break or anything like that? When is that? When do we finish this? In the morning? 10 o'clock? Okay. Okay, I will try my best not to use the classic jargon, but some of them we can't help it. We may need to use, but that is good for you also, especially if you want to explore more. Okay, so let's now think about characteristic of Bardo. What is characteristic of Bardo? I don't know whether we should be too academic here, so I'm trying to ponder. Okay. There are several characteristics of Bardo. One is the Tibetan word is loburwa, which means it's very characteristic of the Bardo. One of the characteristics of the Bardo is the fact that it's a temporary. This is a big one. It's a temporary. And therefore, it has this sort of fleeting, fading, drifting. And therefore, it produces uncertainty. Okay? And of course, the real characteristic, the essence of all this is, they're illusory. This is a big one. And in order for us to understand, Bardo is divided into sort of 6 categories. And I think this morning we can cover all 3 because those, the 3 out of the 6, because I think fairly easy to understand, I would say. But let's see. So, first one, Jeneji Bardo, meaning this. This, what's happening right now, is the Bardo. And this is called existence. It's a very big subject now. Okay, but first let me finish telling you this. Why do we call this Bardo? How do we define? From the time you are born until you so-called separate your body and mind, dead. This is Bar, the middle gap, and which is what's happening right now. And I'm teaching you this first because, not me teaching. Usually, we always teach this first. Many reasons. One, it's the most visible, tangible, understandable, relatable, and it's in your hand. I want to lift my cup. I can do it. To a certain extent, okay? Sort of. You have a little bit of a control. In about 15 minutes, we take a toilet break. We can do that. Some control. Now, this also means it is also the most important Bardo because this is your chance. You have a chance. I gave you the example. I have a control to lift the cup. This is amazing. Why? Because this means that I have a control to think. Okay. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, again breakfast, lunch, dinner, again breakfast, lunch, dinner. Is it really worth it? You understand? Job, bills, promotions, savings. Really? Do you really want to spend our life like this? How about just go to Machu Picchu? How about just, try some, I don't know, whatever, ayahuasca or something. You can do it. Relatively. Depending on, this Bardo is also complicated. Because you have very traditional parents or a girlfriend or a boyfriend will say, no, you can't do that. And then because of the karma, because you have a karma, karmic connection, karmic debt, whatever you want to call it. You have a lot of, what do you call it? Achilles heel? Achilles. Yes. You have a lot. You want to just quit your job and go to Machu Picchu. But your boyfriend says, really? And that's it. Okay, no, I will not. Or something. Or your dog. Who is going to look after my dog while I go to Machu Picchu? Stuff like that. There's so many, the karmic connections, karmic strings, karmic, debts. All that need to be taken care of. And then on the top of that, you need to attend to, Instagram. How can you forget this? You need to update yourself. You need to count how many thumbs up, thumbs down, all of this. So this, but still, you do have a bit of a control. Right? Giving the chance to this control is what we call practicing the Dharma. That's what it is. Giving chance to practice the, giving yourself a chance to think about the Dharma is what we call practice the Dharma. Giving the chance to this control. In the Dharma we call it Milu Rinpoche, the precious human body. The only reason why it is a precious is supposedly you have a bit of a sense. You can sort of, supposedly. But, as you by now must have sort of gathered, it's very uncertain. Everything is fleeting. Today, right now, you're in good mood? Who knows? This afternoon, it doesn't require much reason or other condition. It could be, I don't know, some color of the paragliders, whatever, the tent or whatever you call it. It could be anything. It could upset your mood, just like that. So it has that whole character of a feather in the wind. It's actually a description. Jado lungi tekbatar gadu rawang datarbi pardu semchen. In Tibetan, jado, feather in the wind. Not much control also. But compared to many other Bardo that I'm going to talk, this you still have some chance. There's that aspect, but there's something more important is something that we need to really pay some attention is the insecurity nature of this existence. Insecurity. And this insecurity is such a big subject. I'm just thinking, I don't know, but should we really go into this? Because it is so big. And it's so relative. Remember I was telling you relative? Very important word. I'll give you one example. You may have a good karma of never ever encountering somebody like Nietzsche. So you say, oh, the God will reign, and then, your crop will come, and then you will eat this, and you will have no existentialist angst. Good karma, if you have. And again, good and bad is relative. Bear in mind. But again, with the same reason, if you have a good karma, you may actually meet Nietzsche and read him. Okay, what's the purpose? Why am I here? And then actually you become even more brave and think, anyway, what do we mean by purpose? Who decides this purpose? Why do I have this quest for purpose? Why I'm always wanting to be useful? Why I want to be used? You understand? Why do I have that? So if you explore that, ex-Nietzsche Buddhists can be very good. Yogis, can be very good. Very, very deconstructing, and it could be really good. So, depends on, karma plays very important role. Anyway, the whole idea of existence. Again, remember I was right at the beginning I said, our conversation, we cannot have the conversation until we come to some sort of a common understanding of what do we mean by mind. You must think that you exist. That this table doesn't think that it exists. So the table doesn't get left out if we are not using. They don't have that angst of being left out or not used. So anyway, just this thing that is going on right now. Oh, and then under the, in this, you and me, yes, this is a Bardo, and our Bardo, it's safe to say that you and my Bardo is what we call human Bardo. I'm assuming all of you are human. So, sun is sun for everyone, sky is sky for everyone, sort of common. So here usually we talk about the sixth perception of the Bardo, meaning 6 or 5, it doesn't matter. Hell, hungry ghost, God realm, asura, so on and so forth. So by and large we can say you and I are going through human perception. But we need to define that also more meticulously. Because this morning when we get up, you could be going through animal perception. Sort of groggy, dull, not knowing where you are, Then you take a shower, wash, shave, whatever, groom, comb, powder, lotions. You feel good. You feel you are presentable. Then you are going through God perception. Then you step out of the room. You see another very well-groomed person. Oh, little bit of jealousy there, So, Asura realm, like that. And then you go to the kitchen, breakfast finished. You are too late to get up. Little bit of anger, maybe. Hell realm, like that. So the Buddhists, especially in the Mahayana, the 6 realms are very, very, very subjective perception. It's nothing else. Anyway, this is the, what is it? This is the first Bardo, and I think we talked enough about this. We can come back to this if you want, but it's fairly. This is it. This is what. This is the Bardo. And since, okay, this is what happens. We have been in this Bardo with the body and mind, and with the educations, and then culture, tradition, society, environment. And this all egging each other, so to speak. They really contribute each other and make it more gross, more, more chaotic, also systematic. Like a net of delusion, it becomes so, I will give you one example. Because, I'm a human. I see this as a water. If I'm a fish, I won't see this as a water. And I've been told, cause and condition I'm talking about, I've been told by a doctor, drink water. You have to drink lots of water. And because I have a karmic connection, karmic debt, karmic link with these doctors, I'm also very convinced that, yes, I should drink water. What does this do? It develops cause and condition, which leads to needing to go to pee. You understand? So that's what we are going to do now. Okay? For 10 minutes. It really is difficult.